On the schedule ICR, we have the volunteer emergency worker credit. It is a relatively new credit. This is the third year we've had it on the tax return. On the 25 tax return will be the third year we've had it. So just a little refresher. It was for tax years beginning on or after January 1 of 23 and beginning prior to January 1 of 28. Each individual who serves as a volunteer emergency worker or a volunteer for Illinois Emergency Management Agency, or IEMA, you may have heard them called, may apply for this credit. It is a $500 non-refundable credit. And the volunteer firefighter, each one has their own separate qualification. The volunteer emergency worker, they need to volunteer for a fire protection district for at least 9 months during the taxable year and not receive compensation for their volunteer emergency work of more than $5,000. And everybody's thinking, it's a volunteer group. How are they getting paid? A lot of the volunteer fire departments will pay their volunteer firefighters X number of dollars to go to a certain training or X number of dollars to show up to a monthly meeting. As long as that does not exceed $5,000, they qualify. And they have to be a volunteer fire department. That firefighting cannot be their full-time job, and that's what they're getting paid for, is to fight fires. Like the city of Springfield, it is a paid job. So that one does not count. They will not qualify for this. For the IEMA portion, the volunteer emergency worker must have volunteered with a county or municipal emergency service disaster agency pursuant to the Illinois Emergency Management Agency Act for at least 100 hours. That's all they have is 100 hours, because these are the ones that typically get sent out in floods, tornadoes, things like that. So we really hope that they aren't out on that for 9 months, so that's why theirs is set up to hours. This is a non-refundable credit that shows up on the schedule ICR, and it cannot be carried forward. So if you don't need all of that to lower your tax liability, the excess will just not be used. We are limited to the number of credits that we can issue in a year, because when the legislation was passed, it had a $5 million cap on it. So we can only issue this to the first 10,000 people who apply and are approved. Again, what is the definition of a volunteer emergency worker? It's a person who serves as a member other than on a full-time career basis of a fire department, fire protection district, or fire protection association that has a fire department identification number that's been issued by the state fire marshal's office. And they do not serve as a member on a full-time career basis for another fire department, fire protection district, or fire protection association, or a governmental entity. Or they are they can also be a volunteer of a county or municipal emergency service and disaster pursuant to the IEMA Act. If you want more information about this, there are two public acts, Public Act 103-0009 and then Public Act 103-0592. That will give you a lot more information on what actually does a little more definition than that. In order to qualify, again, the firefighter portion, at least 9 months during the taxable year they had to volunteer and not received more than $5,000 in compensation. If they're coming in through IEMA, they had to volunteer at least 100 hours. After you've met those requirements, you're going to submit an online application through IDOR. This process will open up again early next year, right about the time filing season comes up. And you must be one of the first 10,000 qualified applicants to apply and be approved. The fire chief, if you're coming in through the fire department angle or IEMA, they will submit a list to the Department of Revenue of who qualifies for this based off of all the figures that they have as being the fire chief, everybody who's with the fire department, or through IEMA, everybody who's volunteered. With IEMA will send them back a number, and that number they will use when they apply. The volunteer firefighters, they can go out through the state fire marshal's office, and they have a lookup portal that they can look up to see if they are on the list. After the fire chief and submits it to the state fire marshal's office, the state fire marshal office will compile it and submit it to us. IEMA will compile it from all of their county or municipal coordinators, and they will submit us a list. We will take those lists that we receive from those two and match it up with the people who are applying online through our portal through MyTax. Then, if you're approved, then we'll send you out, congratulations, you get the certificate. With that certificate, we tell them to either plan on printing it out or saving it. When you apply, especially at least the state fire marshal's office, you can look to see how they submitted your name. If your name is submitted as Timothy Smith, please apply as Timothy Smith. Don't apply as Tim Smith. We're pretty good about figuring that out. But if you go by Wayne and your first name is Richard, then don't apply. And that's how it's submitted by Richard. Don't apply as Wayne. That one we're going to say, okay, we've got a Richard, we've got a Wayne. How are these the same? Not as easy to figure out as the Tim and the Timothys. What happens at that point in time is we will send you an email saying we need some verification because we just can't quite figure this out. If you're a first-time filer, you will still be able to apply for this credit. Since it's through MyTax, we are using the Illinois driver's license or the Illinois state ID card. Any correspondence for this credit is done through email, and it is a special email address. We will send you out an email that says, hey, congratulations, you are one of the first 10,000. You get this $500 credit. Here's how you go to get your certificate number that you will need for the Schedule ICR. If there are issues, like with the Richard and the Wayne, we will send you out an email from the exact same email address saying, hey, here's the problem. We need to get this fixed. And you need to respond through that email address. Or if for some reason you're denied the credit, and the biggest reason we're seeing people are being denied is because they are not on the list that's coming from IEMA or the state fire marshal's office. And then we'll say, sorry, you're denied, and it sends you back to check out with the IEMA or state fire marshal or your fire chief to make sure that you did make the list. They can resubmit lists throughout the year. So you may not make it the first time. As long as there's 10,000, we haven't hit the 10,000, you can still go through and apply again. If you've applied multiple times for the same tax year, some people don't think it goes through, so they apply again and again and again. Though the multiple ones will be kicked out as denied. The reason we are doing this all through email, you cannot take your correspondence that is needed to verify information. It cannot be mailed in. It cannot be uploaded through MyTax. It cannot be dropped off at a district office. And the reason we're doing this is because if you need to send more information in, you'll have 10 business days to do that, because this is limited to the first 10,000 people. If we sit and wait for, 10 to 12 weeks for you to send your information back in, as soon as you apply, we're holding that $500 for you. We're giving you time to respond. After that 10 business days, if you haven't responded, that $500 goes back in the pool to be reissued to someone else. So that's why we're wanting it in 10 business days. Through the email, through the rev.vewcredit@illinois.gov. That is the magic email that all the confirmations, the denials, or hey, we need more information, it all comes from that email address, and that's the email address you need to respond back to. We will give you 10 business days to respond, and then after that, it goes back into the pool. That's not saying you still can't apply again. You can go back out and apply again, and if we haven't hit the 10,000, you'll be fine. You cannot use this VEW credit email address to check on the status. Just like our refund lookup portal on MyTax, there is a VEW credit lookup portal, so you can check the status of it that way. But do not go through that email address. That email address is only to submit documentation to.